It is, from my point of view, yes. And when we think of young talents and employees, for especially for electronics business, we are now in contact, for example, with Continental, who is a big automotive supplier, that we hire people from them because the competence is there. And by the way, there are also studies that when Germany would increase its defense spending to 3.5%, it would be automatically have an impact on the economy, growing by almost 1.5% in addition. So we should now move away from just having the spending view on defense, but also contributing to economic growth, such as was in the 70s and also in the 80s.
Christian, we were talking to some fund managers this morning about the challenge for Europe to ensure that companies like yours actually get the lion's share of spending, that the increased ramp up in defence spending in Europe doesn't simply go to US companies with the technology expertise. Even though you've had a record order backlog for 2024, what more positive signals or help could you get from Europe to ensure you do get the lion's share of that European spending?
So first of all, one big learning from my point of view the last 2 weeks is also that Europe has to look in its own capabilities and looking what can be produced in Europe, not just from the US. And when we look back to the 100 billion spending, 35 billion went to the US. So also here, Germany and Europe have to refocus on the capabilities. I can only say for Hensoldt, we have spent the last 3 years 1 billion to invest into this company, into capabilities and production facilities and to know-how. So from my point of view, there is a big potential in Europe in terms of technology and also in capabilities. So let's now focus on Europe.
Let me ask you about the products you're working on, because I can see from radars to short-range air defence systems. What's the focus here in terms of the execution? What more do you want to see in the portfolio that would move the needle on defence in Europe?
So air defense as such is and will stay a growing business. So even if there will be a kind of a frozen conflict or a ceasefire, it will be not a stable one, it will be volatile. And when you look at all the threats we currently have out from the air, especially the drones, then air defense will be a major driver. And here Hensoldt is very well positioned. On top of that, we have seen in the last 2 to 3 years that the return to conventional war system is again asked. So artillery, tanks, and here we see especially in the optics business and in the digitalization and the optics, a big potential. And last not least, we have stated software-defined defense, so creating from the many data in the area of military to create real information for military leaders within a very short period of time will be a necessity. Because from a pure mass comparison, comparing to Russia or even China, the NATO will not be able to cope with that. We have to be smart. We have to deal with information much faster. Also, with artificial intelligence in order to cope with the threats.
Christian, I was looking actually at the diary of events in the calendar for Hensoldt going forward, and a lot of air shows, a lot of military shows around the world, India, the Middle East as well. This isn't just about a European rearmament story, is it? This is about greater threats on a global basis.
Yes. So look, why do the US move away from Europe? Because they focus now on the Pacific. So there is another area of tension. And we see, especially from the Far East, but also from India and from other states of the so-called global South, an increasing demand. And this is why we also said that for Hensoldt, we expect approximately 20% of our business coming out of Europe in 3 years from now. So it's exactly as you say, Steve, the demand is globally increasing, but with a very high increase from Germany and Europe.
Christian, one question that has come up, and again, you'll be the expert on this, not me as well, is the future of intelligence sharing and the future of technological innovation, knowledge sharing, if I can put it that way, between America and its allies, between its Five Eyes allies and, dare I say it, with NATO allies as well. It seems almost inconceivable conversation, but do you see a schism developing, a split developing, where the US and Europe actually go on different paths where actually technology and intelligence isn't shared amongst allies and indeed amongst manufacturers?
Steve, yeah, clear yes, we see it, and we also even see it in Europe. So this is, for me, a big opportunity to really optimize, because with the information sharing and the technology, we can cope with the threats coming from Russia and China. So even if the transatlantic coalition currently is challenged and questioned, we should move forward to refocus again on how we can work together in the future. And of course, sharing intelligence and technology is a vital part of that.
Christian,